We're happy to have you here for another Wine Wednesday. It is lovely outside and beautiful weather calls for beautiful wines to go along with it. And Mary has put together some wines that pair perfectly with the summertime. And I know we are all eager to hear about these and make our shopping lists and see what we need to have in order to properly enjoy the summer. Mary?
And do you see, Christine, someone can't hear you. Roy can't hear you.
You can't hear me? Can you guys hear me?
I
Yeah.
can hear you.
Roy, you can't hear me at all? Do you hear me now? This is so weird. Okay. Yeah, it might be because Deb hears me, Mary hears me. Okay. You get the rest of you guys hear me. Fabulous. Thank you, everyone. So, Roy, come back soon.
Hey, thank you so much, Christine. Oh, here's Chris. Thanks so much, Christine. And so nice to see all of you on the second day of meteorological summer. So happy summer to all of you. What Christine and I decided, we'd gotten pretty deep into the PowerPoints, but what we decided was to kind of go back to the good old fashioned way of just talking through these seminars. So I sure hope I remember how to do this. Anyway, so today we're talking about wines to enjoy throughout the summer and the warm weather. So the most important thing to remember about wines to drink in the warm weather is that alcohol is not a thirst quenching beverage. Alcohol is a dehydrant. And so the more we drink, the thirstier we get, and the more we drink, with well-documented results. So there are a few remedies for that. One is to drink less. Well, I perceive you all as being very moderate drinkers anyways, so we don't have to resort to such dire techniques. So what we want to do is increase the hydrating properties of alcohol, in this case wine, and decrease the dehydrating properties. And in fact, last week, one of the most traditional and uh-oh, what's going on there? Oh, Chris, I thought you were pouring that down your throat. Last week, we briefly discussed one of the most traditional ways of increasing the hydrating properties of wine, which is sangria. Now, sangria, of course, is the delicious wine, fruit juice, and fruit cocktail punch. It's made in Spain. In Italy, there's a version called Bola. There are many, many recipes online. The most important ingredient with sangria is thyme. The harder fruits, apples, maybe even your oranges and your lemons, they should macerate at least overnight. The softer fruits, such as strawberries, should macerate really about 3 hours. So just investigate different recipes. And we'll talk about different wines to use for sangria in a little bit. Now, traditional Spanish sangria contains brandy. And, If you really want to supercharge your sangria, you can do that. I would recommend to leave the brandy out. Also, you want to make certain that everything is really cold, but you don't want to dilute it with ice. So one thing you can do is make a big block, maybe take a yogurt container, a big yogurt container or something, fill it with a fruit juice, freeze that, and put that in your punch bowl. Or maybe even make ice cubes out of wine. But try to avoid making ice cubes out of water. And I have a personal sangria story that I hope to end our talk with. Now, if you don't want to go to the trouble of making sangria, the local family, the great wine and beer family from Chicago, the Gluns family, makes a delicious sangria called De la Costa, Costa, De la Costa. It's delicious. You can, you don't have to add anything to it. You can, if you want to, add some oranges, some lemons, etc. It comes in, oh, there you go. Chris is all ready. There you go. And Chris, how much did that cost you? I don't know, 12. It's a liter bottle. It could be 12.99, like that. It comes in red, white, and pink. The red is the best. So stick, and there's some other prefab sangrias out there. Avoid them. Just stick to De La Costa. It's a delicious, and Chris is nodding her approval.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's not overly sweet.
It's not overly sweet.
Yeah.
And in fact, they make the wine. They make the wine. So it's a local family. They're terrific. Okay. Now, another way to dilute wine is to make a spritzer. You take a wine glass, boy, Christine is, there you go. You take a wine glass, you take a stadium glass, you take whatever container you want, you fill it with ice, and to your taste, you mix seltzer water and wine. We have discussed that in Spain, they're using Coca-Cola. You can use 7-Up, but the traditional recipe is a wine glass, ice, fill about 3/4 with wine, top with soda water, garnish with mint or maybe a lemon or a lime. A wonderful wine to use for a traditional spritzer would be Riesling. A nice little Chateau Saint-Michel Riesling, just a nice little wine. Before I forget, I should mention, you might have seen this label 90 plus. These are very good wines. I'm not going to say they're great wines, but for the price, these 90 plus wines, especially if you're going to pour fruit juice or soda water in them, they're wonderful, wonderful values, and they can be so inexpensive because they are what's called negociants. They go around the world, they negotiate for the fruit, they buy the fruit, and then they make it in their own facilities. And I have been, I think they're very, very credible wines, especially if you're going to make a spritzer or sangria out of them. Now, another way to add hydrating properties to your wine is just add ice, both to red, white, and pink. The wine won't care. Just add ice. And of course, the most hydrating means of drinking wine is to drink water topped with wine. I do it all the time. If I'm a little bored with just drinking water, I fill up a glass with water and ice, and I just top it with a little wine. And that adds a little interest. So that's increasing the hydration of wine. Let's talk about decreasing the dehydration. Well, of course, what you want to do is you want to look for wines with lower alcohol. It is the law that wines must, on the label, someplace on the label, it must say the alcohol. We're going to talk about a wine in just a second that's 6% alcohol. And I would say a lower alcohol wine could be categorized from 6 to 12% alcohol. 6 to 12% alcohol. Now, sadly, California wines these days are getting up to 14, 15% alcohol. But look on the back label for wines that are 6 to 12% alcohol. Of course, we know where we look for low alcohol wines. We look in cool climates because the grapes don't achieve so much ripeness. There's not so much sugar for the yeast to eat. And so wines from cool climates in general will have lower alcohol. Of course, this is northern France. This is northern Italy. This is Oregon. This is certain areas in California, the Russian River Valley. And of course, these wines will have the benefit of acidity because the grapes don't have as much sugar, but they do have more acidity. So cool climate wines will have two benefits: lower alcohol and higher acidity. Then another technique is look what people drink in hot countries. Well, Portugal is a pretty hot country, and the tipple of Portugal, and now the rest of the world, is what I call adult lemonade, which is Vino Verdi. Christine, would you mind typing that in the chat?
Yes.
Vino, Vinho Verde.
I just enjoyed that over the weekend.
There's an H.
Oh,
I think
yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Vino Verdi. So, Chris, you got a bottle of Vino Verdi sitting around? No? No. I know you like those big, rich reds. So Vino Verdi comes in at about 6% alcohol. It's very, very light. There's a little touch of sweetness to it. Deborah Bosco. That's a Vino Verdi? Wonderful. How do you like it? Is it good?
I haven't enjoyed this one yet.
Okay.
It's 11.5% alcohol.
Okay. Okay. Now, does it by any chance say Alvarinho on it? Alvarinho? No.
No.
Because those tend to be a little bit more expensive and a little bit higher in alcohol and a little bit more complex. But anyways.
$14.99.
$14.99, and there's one available in every grocery store in the known universe called Casal Garcia. Casal Garcia, which is going to be, I think, under 10 at this, under $10 at this point. Used to be $6.99. And like I say, it's in every grocery store, bottom shelf, in the known universe. Another wonderful brand is Broadbent. Broadbent, the son of Michael Broadbent, the great now deceased president emeritus of Christie's wine auction. Also, you'll notice that Vino Verdi has a little spritz, and it should have a little spritz. You don't have to worry that it's re-fermenting. It's bottled with a little spritz, which helps refresh the palate. Well, if you're looking for some reds, to enjoy during warm weather. Believe it or not, I recommend looking for these reds in the southern part of Italy, which is hot, but these are wonderful red wines. One grape is called Negro Amara, and another grape is called Nero De Avila, Uh-oh, Deborah Bosco's got one of those too?
Negro Amara and the other one, I apologize.
Nero, Nero is the first word. Second word, D apostrophe Avola. And the Nero de Avila, a great producer is Cusamano, Cusamano, Cusamano.
I drank it.
Say it again. You drank it.
I drank it, sorry.
How was it?
Delicious.
The Negro Amara or the Nero de Avila?
The Nero De Avila.
Yeah, they're great values. They're terrific. You can chill them. And as I say, Cusamano is the producer that I know, and it's at Binny's for $12.99. It's also sold at Whole Foods. Okay, so that's talking about the hydration concern about drinking in the summertime. Well, the next thing we want to think about is pairing wine with food. So, we're all taking off our heavy, I don't have a turtleneck on today for the first time in, 6 months. We're taking off our heavy clothes. We're taking off our woolen sweaters. And so we're putting on more silky fabrics, more soft fabrics. And that's what we want to do with wine. We want to look for lighter wines, as I discussed, lower alcohol. But with red wines, we really want to avoid tannin. We want to avoid that scratchy, bitter quality of red wine because we're eating a lot of foods with spice. And tannin scrapes the palate and exacerbates the heat of the spice. So, Negro Amara and Nero de Avila. Did you find that Negro Amara or Nero de Avila was relatively low in tannin, Deborah Bosco?
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
It's very drinkable.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can chill it. You can put ice in it. It'd be a wonderful wine for your sangria. So lighter wines with reds absolutely avoid tannin. Now we're going to eat a lot of salads. We're going to eat a lot of greens. We're going to eat Mexican food. We're going to have takeout. We're going to do, Mediterranean takeout, Greek food. And so, of course, the grape we immediately think of is Sauvignon Blanc. And last week, I did recommend the Petite Bourgeois Sauvignon Blanc from the Loire Valley, France. Sadly, it is up to $16.99. I'm sorry to say it's up to $16.99. So I will be on the lookout for a good value Sauvignon Blanc. I think avoid Washington because once again, it's hot. It's a desert climate. The Sauvignon Blancs are going to get really rich. Well, Chile. What am I talking about? Chile. Go to Chile. Go to that La Postol Sauvignon Blanc, that Los Vascos Sauvignon Blanc that we discussed in our discussion of Sauvignon Blanc last week. Okay, but we are going to eat. Oh, what's that? La Postol. Have you had it yet, Deborah? Oh, good.
No, I bought a couple. The ones that you recommended last week, I found them all at Vinny's. So,
Yes.
and this was, I think, probably about $12.99.
Okay.
So everything was pretty reasonable, but everything you mentioned in last week's Taste Talk, they had. So I
Right.
just got one of everything. I haven't tried them yet.
Oh, good, 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 good. So we're gonna be eating a lot of spicy foods. We're gonna be eating barbecue. We're gonna be eating maybe things with, fruit and spice sauces or dips. And so, we want to remember sugar and spice makes everything nice. So if you're going to be eating something with a lot of spice, you want to look for a wine that's a little bit sweet, like a Riesling. Chateau Saint Michel, once again, makes a whole range of wonderful Rieslings I highly recommend. Also, they are in partnership with a very great producer of the Mosel named Dr. Lucen. And he makes a QBA. Remember, that's Qualitätswein bestimmter Anbaugebiete. These are wines that they do not have to have fully ripened grapes. They can add a little bit of sugar to prop them up. And his Dr. L is delicious. It's a wonderful wine. Perfect for a spritzer, just perfect to just sit, of an afternoon and just while away an afternoon, in your hammock. But let's talk about sweeter reds. Because of course you're going to be having some barbecue ribs, you're going to be having some barbecue chicken wings, you might want a red. There's a whole bunch. Sweeter reds had been until recently the fastest growing category in the United States. However, they're very high in alcohol. So things like Apothic, I would kind of avoid. It was very good when it came out, but I would kind of avoid, those pre-packaged sweeter reds. But one wonderful, a wonderful, what do you got there, Christine? Chris? Oh, what's that? It looks Austrian. Is it a Grüne Veltliner?
Yes.
Yeah. Boy, am I good. I can just tell by looking at the bottle. Yeah, it said Stadt, and that gave me a. And a Grüne Veltliner is a wonderful wine for a spritzer too. But Binny's
$13.99.
okay. Grüne Veltliner, not as sweet as Riesling. Wonderful wines. But when was the last time anybody had a Lambrusco? Lambruscos are wonderful wines. They range from dry to sweet. Now, we don't have to go to Riuniti Lambrusco. One very fine producer is called Chiarli, 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 and you want to look for Amabile. What's that one? From Roy? Is that a Lambrusco, Roy? Cata Medici?
Yes, Conde Medici. I think a couple of restaurants in Chicago have used it. They make the red, white, and pink. I haven't seen it at Binny's, but other places have had it. But it's very nice Lambrusco. It's not this Riuniti stuff, not at all. It's wonderful, very drinkable. That's all I'll find a link, put it in this chat for you.
I wonder, it might be a private label of that. If that's a restaurant group, it might be a private label.
I'll find
But
the
thank
link.
you.
I'll find the link.
Yeah. The word amabile, 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 will indicate the sweetest styles. And they're not terribly sweet. Little did I know until 2 years ago that there are in fact 8 clones of Lambrusco. So the clone that I know is Grasparosa, or maybe it's Gasparosa. Grasparosa, or maybe I think it's Grasparosa. Grassporossa. Grasparosa. Oh, well done. Thank you. Grasparosa. But the important thing is look for amabile, and that will be the sweeter style. There's also a lovely wine called Bracchetto d'Acqui, a sweeter sparkling wine from Italy, Bracchetto d'Acqui. Another great value sparkling wine is a label called Moschetto. M as in Mary, Osketto, Moschetto. And this is a combination of Moscato and Bracchetto. They're very inexpensive wines. They come in white, red, and pink. The white is a fantastic substitute for Asti Spumante or Moscato d'Asti. The red I have served very successfully with Asian duck. So the red is a little bit drier. It's definitely at Mariano's. I think it's at Binny's. Moschetto. Well, and we talked about Nero De Avila and Negro Amara. Nero De Avila, especially Cusimano. Well, off the sweet and spice foods, we're going to be eating a lot of grilled foods. And this is one time of year that I recommend California Chardonnay, because California Chardonnay is very often going to be matured or at least rested in oak. And it's going to be pretty rich. These are not cocktail wines at this point, but a really wonderful, rich California Chardonnay with some barrel fermentation, some barrel aging. Wonderful with grilled chicken, not spicy though. Wonderful with grilled chicken, even wonderful with steak, because the oak flavor of the Chardonnay and the grill flavor of the grill will find a common denominator. Let me see. Okay, well, we're still on bubblies. And the best value bubbly comes from Spain, called Cava. Cava is we can't say champagne method, but is the champagne method sparkling wine of Spain. And a great value is Segura Viudas. It's two words, S as in Sally, E-G-U-R-A, Segura, second word, Viudas. V as in victory, I-U, D as in David, A-S, Segura Viudas. It's a tremendous value. I think it even comes in half bottles. And it's just, for summertime, knock it back. It's a wonderful, wonderful sparkling wine. Most Cava is wonderful at this time of year. For a French great value sparkler that you can celebrate Bastille Day is called Saint Hilaire. Saint with an E at the end, because I guess Hilaire is a gal. Hillaire. They bill themselves as the original champagne. It's not champagne, but they bill themselves as the people who really invented. Chris, is that some Saint Hilaire? Oh no, she's just pouring some. Saint Hilaire, that's exactly right. It's a delicious wine. It's absolutely delicious. So I very, very much recommend that. Okay, so we talked about pairing wine with the weather. We talked about pairing wine with food. Now let's talk about pairing wine with the occasion. I'm kind of old fashioned. And so I say, if you're going to be having a casual meal, I say have a casual wine. It's, the wine police will not come and take you away if you want to open your finest Grand Cru at a picnic. But, how much complexity do you want when you're swinging in a hammock? Not much. You just want a wine that you can sip and enjoy. Also, you might be doing this sipping and enjoying outside, on a boat, by a pool, in a public park, where glass is discouraged or even verboten. So here, I have to get something, one little second. You've heard me talk about Bonterra, and Bonterra, Bonterra is the company that really introduced America to organically grown wines. They pretty much invented the concept of sustainability, which means, do the best you can with organic growing, but stay in business. So they introduced sustainability. They introduced America to organic wine growing. And now they are even growing a lot of their wines in the biodynamic fashion that really, really, strict organic. But what they're also doing is packaging in low carbon footprint containers. So here are their cans. They're small cans. They're 250 milliliter cans. Whose iPhone? Oh, Chris? Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of good wine coming in cans now. I really think Bonterra makes the best. I really, really do. This is their rosé, which is delightful. Also, they're very pretty cans. I don't want to open up the pack, but they're very, very pretty. So if you're taking them as a gift, or if you're serving them at a nice party or something, they're very lovely cans. They are 250 milliliters, which is a little smaller, but they're wonderful. Also, bag and box. And this is where I think the wine industry should go. What I see happening, what I want to have happen is I want a box of Chateau Lafite. I want a box of, Chianti Classico Reserva. I want a box of, Merceau. I want 12 boxes in my refrigerator so that I have my own. Well, what am I talking about? I kind of do, but the box will last longer. The box will last longer. There are all sorts of wonderful boxed wines. This is Bonterra Sauvignon Blanc. They make a wonderful red blend. It's wonderful. And after you pop it, they say the wine will be good for 6 weeks. In my experience, it's good for quite a bit longer than 6 weeks. I don't know how much these cost, but I would very, very much recommend Bonterra box wines. Right, you can use open wines for spritzers, wines going a little bit bad, or throw them into a stew or something. Another really good producer of box wines, it's called From the Tank. Terrific wines. I actually sold them and represented them, and I sold them into the Hop Leaf, and it was their top-selling wine because they were terrific wines. From the Tank, and the producer is called Jenny and Francois. Jenny and Francois.
So
from-
Mary, we have a question on why would the wine last longer if it's in a box?
I beg your pardon. Very good question. It's a bag and box. It's in a bag. There's a bag. There's a bag inside here. Whoever asked the question, are you old enough to remember in grade school how you got milk? You know, you pulled it out of a thing. Do they still do
I'm
that?
not,
The
I'm
cows.
not that old, but
It
What is it called? A milk
depends
dispenser.
on how much funding your school got.
And I think that was actually invented in Chicago. And that's the same principle. There's a bag in here. And, you know, there's a little spout. You pull this out. There's a little spout here. Pulled it out of a cow. Oh, Roy, you slay
Yeah,
me.
we called the machine a cow too. We had
You
it,
did?
we had it at my summer camp and we've referred to it as the cow.
And I think it was invented right here in Chicago. Honest to God, I think it was.
Guys, Chicago or Wisconsin.
Or Wisconsin. Chris, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I did. I think the person was asking, why does your wine last longer in the box? And it's because no oxygen and no sun. Inside that bag, it keeps the oxygen from coming. So if you have a wine, it lasts longer.
Right, because in the bag, the oxygen does not get into the bag. Yeah. Okay. So now I do want to caution you. You know, let's say you've got one of these boxes, and let's say you open it, and you know you're driving home, and you throw it on your car seat next to you. Well, that is now an open container of alcohol. You might forget it's an open container of alcohol, but it is. So please remember, if you're driving around with your boxed wine, make certain you put it in your trunk so you're not driving around with an open container of alcohol. Well, here's my story about sangria. So when I was growing up, every Saturday night during the summer, my daddy would start slicing fruit and start making ice cubes out of wine. And I just even as a little child, I remember watching him and just thinking, isn't it wonderful? My daddy takes such pleasure slicing the fruit, and he's doing it because he loves us so much. And then he'd so carefully put the wine over the fruit and put it in the refrigerator. And then we'd watch the Shirley Temple Storybook Hour, and my sister and I would get a little, you know, our little glass of sangria, and it would be full of fruit, all macerated with wine. And very soon, my sister and I would fall asleep. And I remember Daddy carrying me upstairs to bed, and it just always made me feel, oh, you know, doesn't Daddy love me? And he made this punch, and oh, don't I feel good? And of course, my sister and I slept very soundly on Sundays, beginning at about 7 o'clock at night. Well, it wasn't until I was about 35 years old that I realized the one night my mom and dad knew they were going to have some privacy was Sunday night because of that sangria. And that's one of the reasons he was doing it so lovingly. Yes, he did love us, but he was looking forward to some nice quiet time. Took me until I was about 35 to figure that out. So, does anybody have any questions about summertime wine?
you mentioned that sweet is good. So is going for ice wine a good idea, or because ice remind me something good for the summer, or is it too heavy for the summer?
It's going to be very, very, very sweet and quite expensive. Asaf, I don't know how much you drink. Ice wine, you usually drink in about like a little teeny glass in about 2-ounce pours because it's very sweet. Now, there's nothing to say if you only drink 2 ounces of it. I think it would be too expensive to pour soda water in. Really, ice wine is, I don't know how you'd say this in German, a vino di meditazione, a wine to sip and savor. If you're just having some lovely summer fruits and a little cheese, yes, a little iced wine would be delightful. But remember, it's very, very sweet. From every grape, you only get 1 drop of liquid, and that's solid sugar and acid. So I think it's going to be too sweet for your meal.
So I like to put ice wine, believe it or not, same amount, like a 2-ounce pour, over ice cream, vanilla ice cream. It's fantastic. It's a really nice summer dessert.
Yeah.
I have to try that one.
Oh yeah. And if it's really cold, sometimes it freezes a little bit. Yes?
What about white Riojas? How do you feel about those?
Oh, you know what? I think I'm going to tell you something. In my knowledge, I have never tasted a white Rioja.
Oh,
How do you feel about it?
I don't know. I haven't opened it yet. So we go to Woodman's on our way up in Kenosha because their taxes are less than Chicago. So they have carts, shopping carts all the time with wine in it. And this is an average $15 bottle of wine. And I got it for $5.99.
What's the vintage?
Pardon?
What's the vintage?
2018.
Okay.
So I'm going to open it. I just thought I'd save it for the summer now and give a taste. I've never had a white Rioja. Yeah. Oh, no, I take it back. I probably had one.
I think you had one in level 3 because I remember tasting that with you guys.
Yeah, I did. But I personally have never sat down and opened a bottle of white Rioja. So I'm just was wondering what you thought of them. But,
yeah. What's the grape, do you think? Viura?
Viura.
Viura, yeah, Viura. Yeah. Not a grape I tend to like, but that's why 31
for
flavor.
$5.99, I'll give it a chance.
There you go. So
this is really one time of year a wine merchant is your best friend because you go to your wine merchant and you say, what if you have in low tannin, low alcohol red? This is what wine merchants love to do. Mm-hmm. So a wine merchant can be, even in Binny's, they'll recognize you. You'll get to be their customer. So find a wine merchant and befriend a wine merchant. Pardon me, Christine.
Yes. So yesterday, we did have a taste talk on summer beers. And towards the end of Marty's discussion, he brought something up which I felt very much was influenced by a trend that started on the wine side first. This year, he is seeing trending at breweries, which you specifically would be finding more at breweries rather than at bars. But there are frozen and slushy style beers coming out of breweries right now. And I felt that was very much a response to Frosé.
Frosé. Yeah.
And I also have to let you all know, if you are visiting the neighborhood of Andersonville in Chicago, Simon's Tavern, one of my favorite long-standing Chicago dive bars, the home of the pickled herring, and also who makes the most amazing holiday glug, is serving both white and red frozen glug.
Oh, Jesus.
It is delicious. The red definitely has the holiday spices and feel of it, but it's nice because it has that cool flavor. But the white is very light and citrusy and very refreshing.
Is it made with Everclear?
I don't know what he makes it with. I've
Okay.
been there when he's made it before, when he's like cooking it in the back, but I'm not sure what all's in it, but it is delicious.
Mm. Roy, I think, has a question about making ice cubes with wine. If you use a lower alcohol wine, they might not get rock solid, but they will eventually freeze if you use a lower alcohol wine.
Or just have multiple children who aren't old enough to drink, and then you think you're freezing wine, but you are actually freezing water, and it freezes very easily.
Water does. Yeah.
Found that out the hard way. I was doing a certain drink, and my alcohol froze really fast. Only to be told by my 20
If anybody
something.
comes up to Andersonville, give me an email and I'll buy you some frozen glug at Simon's. I'm kind of frightened about it, but I
Do they
should.
have regular wine?
Pardon me?
Simon's, do they have regular wine?
I don't think.
They do, but it's more of like I'll have the red, I'll have the white.
Yeah.
So, well, everyone, thank you so much. Mary, pleasure as always. Hope all of you are going to maybe get a little time outside, maybe enjoy a cocktail, a wine, something cold, maybe with some alcohol in it for the rest of the evening. We will see you all in the future. Again, thank you, Mary. Anything else you would like to say before we wrap it up? No.
I think we're off next week, aren't we?
Yes, we're off next week.
Yes, we're off next week.
Yeah. But we will have more coming from Mary in the future, so not to fret.
Duke, I love all of your Instagram posts. They're good. They're really awesome lately. I don't know what you're doing, but I love them.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right, everyone, have a great evening, and we see you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.